Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Before we even get started, let me offer you an apology for starting late. This morning, I have had technical difficulty after technical difficulty. StreamYard would not work properly for me, and then my phone, for which I'm streaming on, going live on Instagram, kept shutting off. So let's pray that the technology gods are in my favor now. All right. All right. So while everyone is waiting, I'm going to just adjust. While everyone is popping on the various in the various communities, um, let me just say thank you again for joining me, although I'm a little late. I hope everybody is doing freaking amazing, doing great. Today is an awesome day for me. Anytime that I get a chance to hang out with my community is an awesome day. So I want to say thank you guys for joining me. While I am getting my bearings, if you guys will do me a huge favor and introduce yourselves in the comments. If you are on Facebook, you will need to enter your name, give StreamYard permission to access your information so that your name will pop up so I can see who I'm communicating with and speaking to. All right. Again, thank you. For those of you guys who don't know me, I am Tracey, Coach Tracey. I am a trauma healing and mindset coach for high achieving Black women who are ready to ditch the mental and emotional oppression that comes with the various forms of trauma, whether it's relationship trauma, whether it's workplace trauma, childhood trauma, any form of trauma, and even past hurts and losses that are just causing us to stay in a place of feeling stuck and not able to get around certain things that are causing us to not live our best life. For everybody who has joined me on Instagram, thank you so very much. Those who've joined me on YouTube and on Facebook, I also appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you would also, as you are introducing yourselves, tell us where you are coming in from. I always want to know that. If for guys who know me or who are my ride or dies, I am in Southern Maryland. I'm in a city called California, which is really close to another city called Hollywood. Yeah. Exactly. They did not get very creative, but that is where I am. The weather here is absolutely fantastically beautiful today. So I'm excited about getting out there in it, getting my workout on later today, but also getting out and doing some reading and all that stuff. So thank you again. As you guys are coming on, let's talk about our sponsor for today. Our sponsor for today's Tea Talks with Coach Tracey is Groovy Herbal Teas, owned by the beautiful Angel Johnson. Let me make sure I put her information in the chat boxes. I wish we could do this beforehand. It would save so much time, but it's not possible. So I'm going to make it happen now. I am loving her teas. Her teas are freaking amazing. Today's tea is her hibiscus tea. Actually, it looks a little different. I think I got a different tea in there, but it's one of her beautiful teas, and I am enjoying it. And y'all know my favorite mug, my growing, thriving, flourishing mug. So yeah. Hey, beautiful people that have joined. I'm going to type this information for our sponsor again. I'm sure it's showing up somewhere, but you know what? We want to make sure we give our sponsors all the credit because they make it possible for me to have awesome teas to share with you all. And so that I am enjoying one of my pastimes, which is enjoying tea while I am educating, informing, and sharing and loving all my community. All right. So let's get into it. Today's topic is, before we do that, let me show you her packaging because I almost forgot. Her packaging is like this. I absolutely love it. Very easy to open. Sometimes she even sends you little treats. I got this beautiful treat. I still don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure she'll tell me. It's delicious. It's like sugar crystals. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Hey, Najari. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, I am Green Dawn. How are you all doing? So this is her packaging, and all of her teas are individually packed, and it's all of the teas, the leaves inside are sustainable and also chosen from around the world with sustainability in mind. But yeah, this is her packaging, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, okay, now we can get into today's conversation. I'm going to put some of my ginger crystals in my tea. Hey, greet them. Hey, how are you? Okay, Tanny on Instagram says she has her tea. Yay, yay. Let us know what tea you're drinking. So today's topic is productivity, Black women, and trauma. And why that topic? Well, here's the thing. What I have realized and what I've always known, being a Black woman from the South and growing up, always hearing all of my life that as a Black person, I have to work 2 times, 10 times harder than my counterparts to get the pay that I want, and not even sometimes the pay that I deserve. Okay? Remember, the pay that I want and the pay that I deserve are not the same thing. I want the pay that I deserve, but typically it's very hard for us to get the pay that we deserve. But let's talk about where all of this started. Let's talk about productivity in and of itself. Productivity is a product of capitalism. As you all know, and if you don't know, for those people who don't know, the 40-hour work week was created based around how machinery operated. It wasn't based around something that had to do that we need to work 40 hours a week. It was based around how machinery worked. And at that time, during the, I think it was the Industrial Revolution, World War, I can't remember when, but around that time, remember, everything was production. And we still have a lot of production jobs and so forth these days, but that is where that 40-hour work week came from. So it's deeply, deeply rooted in capitalism. And capitalism is what makes this big old world of ours go around, right? Because capitalism is also deeply rooted in the transatlantic slave trade, which is why many countries, particularly America, where we live, most of us are living, right? How wealthy this country is because of the transatlantic slave trade, right? So the country, as we all know, was built on the back of slaves and immigrants and other people who were not willingly doing the work. They were forced into those work. So we've got historical trauma that is a big part of this picture when we're talking about productivity and Black women and the trauma. Now, when we look at it from the historical perspective of trauma, we're talking about I'm not going to say that word, white inferiority complex, because I don't believe in white supremacy. So I term it white inferiority complex. It is deeply rooted in that. It is deeply rooted also in racism. So when we talk about when the labor that required us to be productive pretty much every single moment of our lives when our ancestors were on the plantations, we were required not only to provide the physical labor in the fields, in the homes of the slave owners, and so forth, but we were also, as Black women, as Black people, but specifically as Black women, because we are the carriers of life, we were also charged with producing the actual hands, the labor, the reproductive labor to provide the physical bodies, the human capital, if you will, for the plantations. So when we start thinking about productivity and Black women, We have had to carry this weight on us from the moment we have been conceived, from the moment even now, being descendants of our ancestors, we are still being told by society that in order for us to receive the financial rewards, if you will, the accolades, can't get my words, I was going to say accommodations, but even accommodations and the accolades and so forth and so on. The thing that we hear, even as little kids, little girls running around, we hear that we will be rewarded based on what we are able to produce, how we show up. Baby girl, did you get those dishes washed? When you get those dishes washed, I'll give you your dessert. I'll give you this. If you do this, if you get your this, I will give you this. So our worth, and I'm not going to say our worth, but many of us feel that our worth is tied to our productivity because it's been ingrained in us since just being on the plantations, transatlantic slave trade, right? It's been ingrained in us, right? We don't have to believe it, but we do believe it. And the reason why we believe it is because of intergenerational trauma as well. How many of you were in the kitchen or cleaning homes with your grandmothers, your Medeas, your big mamas, your mama, your aunties, your sisters, and so forth, right? I'm looking at the comments and I will definitely get to the comments. Well, when we were in the kitchen or cleaning the house, we were always told that we are to do a good job so that we could be seen. We were always told that, and this is from our grandmothers and everyone else telling us that we have to, and again, I'm going to go back to, we got to show up in a way that our counterparts don't show up. We can't make mistakes, which developed perfectionism, right? We cannot be better than our counterparts, because if we're better than them, that's going to draw attention to us, which is going to also cause us problems in the workplace, problems in society. So we were also taught to shrink, right? And not only just because if we show up and we are better than, our work product is exemplary, our knowledge is above, and it's not all the time, but it is quite often, right? That we have to deal with dimming our light so that our counterparts are not upset. And this isn't always, and this is not all of our counterparts, but this is how we have been raised. And this is from the historical trauma of slavery and racism and the white inferiority complex. And then we were taught that, because here's the thing, what we learned as young Black women from our mothers, and they learned from their mothers, and their grandmothers learned from their mothers, is that, again, we have to do what is required of us to be safe, to live, to be protected. Because at that time, our protector, and I'm quote unquote protector, was the slave owner, because our men had been broken down. Their power had been taken from them. Their authority over their homes had been taken from them, right? So at that point, we had to make the slave owners happy so that we can stay safe, have some safety, again, quote unquote safety, and protection, quote unquote protection. So that is how we started to attach our worth with our productivity, what we're showing up with. And because the capitalism and the patriarchy saw how great that was for their pocketbook, sipping my tea, Y'all following with me? Everybody tracking with me? Arnisha is on Facebook. She says, so good to know. On Instagram, I am Green Dawn says, have to outwork everybody. That is what we have been told. We have been taught that we have to outwork everybody. Mind your own plant, says Tracey. That is a whole word. The Wealthy says, wow, this is right. Mind Your Own Plants also says disconnected us from the source. Absolutely. We were disconnected from everything that gave us our worth and gave us our value. Now, I want to interject something because our worth has nothing, and I'm going to say this again, our worth has nothing, absolutely nothing, zilch, nada, to do with how much we can produce. It has nothing to do with how well we can do a job. Our worth is innate because we are God's children, period, point blank. Period, point blank. Just so you know, all right? Our worth is ours because we are God's children. We were created on purpose, for purpose, with purpose. So no matter what anyone says, it had nothing to do with our productivity, okay? However, that is a belief that we have come to understand and to believe beyond a shadow of a doubt. It does not make it the truth. What makes it true is you believing it. I'm gonna sip my tea on that, okay? What makes it true is us believing that our worth is tied to our productivity. Now, here's the other side of productivity, Black women, and trauma. Inside all of the things that we have been told, one from society, two from our ancestors, and even our current extended family, our mothers, our sisters, everyone around us telling us that we have to produce in order to give. I want to talk to you about the other side of that. And what happens when we are, and I touched on it a little bit, when we are tied to our productivity and how we show up in our worth. We develop perfectionism. And in perfectionism, we beat ourselves up one side and down the other when we make mistakes. And we don't give ourselves grace and compassion when we make mistakes. We forget that we are humans in physical bodies. We're spiritual beings in human physical bodies, okay? We also forget that we are not perfect. So we will never have perfectionism. No matter how hard we try to get something 100% right, it will never be 100% right. It will always be 99.9%, period. Just like me trying to get on the broadcast today. I set up the night before. I set my plants up. I get my tea ready. I have everything ready the night before. But it did not happen perfectly and seamlessly. But it's okay. I give myself grace. Also, because of the belief that we have, we also deal with certain things like imposter syndrome. And that is a result of the white inferiority complex. How do we get here? You know, when we get into some of these positions, we sometimes start to think, wow, did I get here because of affirmative action? Affirmative action has pretty much been phased out. We wonder, did we get into the job because we're the token Black person, because many of us are the only Black woman or in the room? Many of us think that, are we really smart enough? Did I really do that? Even though we have the degrees, even though we have the C-suite office, the corner office, even though we have books penned by us, even though we have flourishing businesses, we are dealing with imposter syndrome. And y'all know how I feel about imposter syndrome. If you don't, go back and look at one of my lives that is about imposter syndrome. I don't believe in the word imposter because imposter, first and foremost, is criminal. Second, syndrome, we're not sick. All of the things, perfectionism, shrinking, dimming our light, imposter syndrome, directly reflect back to the trauma that we have experienced due to historical trauma, racism, and also the otherism of sexism and misogyny. So when we start to think about those things, this is how we're showing up. We are showing up, and the reason why we are really, really, really pushing that button where we are believing that we have to be 2 times, 10 times better than others is, and Mind Your Plant says, society is sick. Yes, because people are sick, society is in and of itself sick. And good morning, Rhonda, over on Instagram. Here are some of the reasons why we also show up working ourselves to the bone. And I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got this in my mind also. One of the reasons, when we make it to that place that we have always dreamed of being, we work even harder, especially if you grew up like someone like me. I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina. I grew up behind the college, is what it was called. There is behind Wofford College. Wofford College bought all of that property, and so it's no more behind the college anymore, pretty much anyway. I also grew up in the projects. My mother was a domestic worker. I did not grow up with my father, even though my mother was married to my stepfather. So we have these ideas of where we don't want to go again. We had food stamps, and I'm so grateful for food stamps and government cheese. I'm grateful for it. I am not ashamed of anything that I had to go through, because everything that we went through, everything that my mother did to take care of us, was her way of surviving, and it was her way of doing what she needed to do to take care of us. So I am not ashamed of us being on food stamps. I am not ashamed of having government cheese, because if y'all know anything about government cheese, macaroni and cheese sandwiches, bologna and cheese. Anyway, I digress. Let me get back. I went on a tangent. Why we work so hard is because we fear losing what we have actually acquired, because we don't want to go back there anymore. That was hard. It was hard. Okay. So we don't want to go back. So not only are we pressured in showing up, working ourselves to the bones, but we're also thinking about, I do not want to go back to that life. Okay, Rhonda's like the best mac and cheese over on Instagram. Yes, Tam Cole photographer says, ashamed of our government, though. Absolutely. Absolutely. Another reason why we show up and we go so hard to be the best that we can be, to be all that we want to be, to show up, is that we really do want to be seen. We want to also be accepted for who we are, for the work that we do. And we want to have the accolades and the praise for the work that we do, not because we are looking outside of ourselves for it, but because we deserve it. If our counterparts are receiving that, why can't we get it? So part of why we also go so hard is because we want to be seen, and we want to have those that praise. But because we're seen, we also want, and the third reason is because we want to be rewarded and our value be seen, so that we can grow and go into other meaningful positions and opportunities and feel adequate, not even better than. We simply want to be seen and fulfilled. Now, here's the caveat to that. Okay. Even though we want to be seen and fulfilled and know that our value at work is recognized, we also have to take ownership of that inside of ourselves. We have to stop looking for the external validation and give ourselves the internal validation. Now, that's a hard one for us, because as young girls and as women, we have also been taught that we are supposed to be humble. How many of you guys grew up in the Southern Baptist Church or the Baptist Church, the church period, all right? And we read in the Bible where it says pride cometh before the fall, right? Many of us have misconstrued, and we've been taught this because this is what we are taught in religion, that we're not supposed to have pride in we're not supposed to be prideful. But when we say we're supposed to have pride in our work, we are actually, so am I supposed to have pride or am I not supposed to have pride? We're a little bit confused. And then we're told to be grateful for what we have. But here's the problem with that. You want me to be grateful and you want me to have pride in my work, but you don't want me to have pride in who I am. You want me to have pride in my work. Listen to what I said. You want me to have pride in my work. My work ethic has never been the problem. Our work ethic has never been the problem. You want me to have pride in my work, but I need to have pride in who I am, and then I can have pride in my work. But that has been taken from us because of trauma. Okay? But that does not mean all is lost. Okay? That does not mean that all is lost. Our road to the table is hard fought. We understand that. But in order for us to lay the foundation for our children, our descendants, and not only just our children, our descendants, but other women, we have to do the work to heal, to change those limiting beliefs, to a growth mindset, to do the thought work, to find the truth of who we are so that we can start validating ourselves, so that we can start validating our other sisters, so that we can start validating our girl children, so that we can start validating everyone in our community who identifies as woman. Okay? That is part of the healing process. And that is part of also denying and breaking down that belief that we have been taught to believe, that our value, our worth is tied up in our productivity. Yes, all of us are charged to do a great job, whether we are white, whether we are Black, whether we are indigenous, whether we are Latina, Hispanic, no matter what, whether we're Jewish, whether we're Hindu, whatever. We are all charged to go into our workplaces, our places of business, whether we are the employee, whether we are the employer or the business or the entrepreneur. We all should have pride in our work ethic, but we all should also be able to have pride in who we are and how we show up and everything about us when we go into those places of work. How do we get to that place of healing where we are not believing what they told us, that our value is wrapped up in our productivity? Well, first and foremost, again, you've got to make the decision that you're going to stop. The buck stops here with this. You're going to say, I'm going to do the healing and I'm going to undo this faulty thinking and this societal belief that as a Black woman, I've got to work harder. And we can, because that belief is neutral. The part of it, that racism telling us that, racism is going to still be there. The thought that we have about how we show up, we don't have to believe that. Because when we believe that, that turns into internalized racism. And what happens when we internalize that racism on ourselves, we make what they say to be the truth for them to believe, and then we believe it as truth as well. So we've got to turn that thought around. That's why I work with my clients so much on thought work, because our thoughts are what we are projecting into everything that we do. And that is how we're showing up. And it shows in our actions and our results. So we have to get clarity. We have to have a growth mindset. We have to do the thought work so that we can clear the path, so that we are making that space and that room for us to be all that we can be. But what happens when we get clarity, when we do the thought work, when we start to have that growth mindset, we start to own more of our power, and we take agency back, and we start to remember that we are sufficient. We are enough. We are great. Here are some tips that can help you to get to that place. Oh, I'm loving the comments over on Instagram. I can't wait to get over there. Here are some tips, and these are some of the things that I share with my clients, because again, it's all up here. What you believe about yourself is going to show up in how you show up every single day. And remember, a lot of the beliefs that we have, we need to debunk them because they are not the truth of who we are. We have to put those beliefs on trial. We have been programmed like a computer, and the computer has bugs in it. How many of us have ever had a virus on our computer? If you've ever had a virus on your computer, you know that that virus can also be removed from your computer. It's just like our brains. Those faulty beliefs that are not serving us, that are not our truths, we can remove them by doing thought work. The first thing I would encourage, and I always encourage my clients to do, is work with someone to help you if you cannot do this work on your own. And many people cannot do this work on their own, and that's okay. It's not anything wrong with you that you can't. It's that some people need the accountability, because without accountability, there is no responsibility. And doing it on your own is kind of hard to make yourself accountable sometimes. So I encourage my clients, and I encourage you all, work with a coach. And it could be a coach like myself, trauma healing, if you're dealing with the trauma part of it. It could be a career coach if you're dealing with a career. It could be a general life coach, or all of the above. Because we all come to the table for you in different ways to help you in different. I'm working on healing the trauma. Because I'm healing the trauma, I'm going to the root cause of it in all of the areas, because how you think in one area is how you're going to think in another area. A career coach is going to help you traverse what it takes to be your best self in the career, in the workplace. A general life coach is going to totally talk about other things. You can also partner with a therapist and a coach, or one or the other. Okay. Talk therapy is freaking amazing. When you start to hear your thoughts out loud, oh my God. Oh, mind your own place. That is so sweet. Come on, sister friend. You can certainly do this. You can do this. And of course, many of us are big on self-help. The problem with self-help, and I'm going to say this, and I don't want to say the problem. The challenge with self-help is that, again, where there is no accountability, there is no responsibility. Many of us grab the books, we read the books, we have our highlighters, but once we put the book down, there's no one to hold us accountable, and we forget. The thing with coaching and therapy and so forth is that you are in that person's office, if you will, Zoom. Some of you are doing in person, and you have 60 minutes or longer with that person to help you and hold you accountable. And typically they are staying in touch with you between times and in between times, right? And self-help can also look like journaling. Getting those thoughts out of your head and journaling about them. Are they really the truth of who you are? Are they really part of your core values? Journaling. I'm a big fan of affirmations and declarations. If you cannot believe declare things over your life that you want. I'm a big fan of those things, because what a man thinketh, so he is, right? Movement. I'm a FEM attuned certified teacher, and come July, August, we'll be doing more movement. But movement helps move your emotions and feelings and helps you connect with those emotions and feelings. Breath work, it is the breath of life. I am also big on, I'm big on prayer. I'm big on my faith, my spirituality. I use crystals. Like this week, I'm working with my bloodstone crystal. I'm also working with my black obsidian crystals, because everything is energy. These have energy, and not only do they have energy, but they bring a different level of energy to you, clarity and so forth, right? Also, one of the things I would encourage you to do is I use cards. This is one of my new card decks from Abiola Abrams. I think you guys, she's an awesome life coach. But I use card decks. And the reason why I use card decks is to get out of my head and to make my brain work, because our brain's goal is to be safe and efficient, right? That's what it is. And that's what it wants to do. No, and I want to clarify, I do have oracle cards, but here's what I want to we'll talk about that another time. I do use oracle cards. I have super attractor and everything, and other cards. I love my healing therapy cards. These are healing mantra cards. But I do use a number of different things. Okay. And the reason why is because we have to make our brain do the work, but we also have to do the work. I use meditation. Those are definitely some tools. But the biggest thing that you can use to move from the staying in that loop of productivity from a perspective that you have to do it is self-care. And the biggest part of self-care that I will always share with my clients is rest. Rest, as Audre Lorde says, is an act of resistance, but it's also an act of self-preservation. If you are not taking care of your body, and I'm going to talk about from spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, social, sensory, environmental, creative. Those are all the areas of rest that we need to be tapping into on a regular basis as Black women, because one, we've not been given the opportunity to do so in the past. We have to make that part of our weekly, daily self-love and self-acceptance program, if you will. Okay. So those are some of the ways. But before I sign off, I want to leave you with a few things that you can take with you, and you can use these as affirmations, or you can use these as just general thoughts to take you through the day. The first one is, there is room for you at the table. And if there is no room, if they tell you that there is no room for you at the table, build your own darn table. Seriously, there is room. They may not want to make room, but if they don't want to make room, you have a couple of options. Leave that particular company and go to a company that will make room for you at the table. Second, build your own table. All right. The second thing is that, and this is something that many of my clients have had to deal with, is they had to give themselves permission to show up as their authentic selves, from their hair to the clothes that they wear, to the jewelry that they wear, to the way that they talk. You give yourself permission to show up as your authentic, beautiful self. This right here is not up for debate for anybody. Okay? Nobody. Comes out of my head. This is what God gave me. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You have to believe that before they will, okay? Baby steps if you need to. Wear that bun. Wear a twist out. Whatever it is. But give yourself permission to show up as your authentic self at work. And when I say that, I don't mean to go up in there bum rushing them with it. What I mean is show up as your authentic self in small ways. Your hair, the jewelry you wear, the clothes that you wear, the way that you talk. The third thing, your well-being in every way matters. Going back to self-care and the big part, rest. Because when you are resting, you are able to tap into your intuition, and you are coming out of that masculine energy of productivity, which is patriarchal, right? The power of men. It's our mat. We are going into our feminine energy when we are resting and taking care of our well-being. And that's when we can hear what we need to do. Exactly. The fourth thing is lean into your fears. Many of us are running away from that very thing that can set us free because we are afraid to face it. Lean into it. Growth is not supposed to be comfortable, but you will never get to that level that you want if you don't lean into your fear and be courageous. And let me tell you something, you can't be confident until you're courageous, because confidence comes after the courageousness. Period. And anybody that tells you that they can teach you how to be confident, the first, what they got to teach you how to do is to be courageous. And being courageous means you have to move in ways in spite of your fear. You're still going to be scared, but you still got to do it. And that's courageous. And every time you make that move, even when you're afraid, is when your confidence builds in who you are. And the last thing, and I want to say this because my daughter's name is T.E.A. It's spelled S-H-A-T-I-A. My oldest daughter's name. And my daughter's name has been butchered in ways that make no sense to me. And I want to say this because this is something that many of us, we have beautiful ethnic names, but people will tell us that they cannot pronounce our names. Arnasia is on Facebook. She has a beautiful name. I promise people have butchered her name in more ways than one. Tanny, and I'm sure I'm butchering Najeri's name because I still don't know how to pronounce her name. But your name is no harder to pronounce than Soul, or I don't know, John or Sally or anyone else's. It just simply takes someone who was intentional about learning your name. Do not allow, this is how you take back your power. Don't allow people to butcher your name. No, it's spelled Tracey. No, it's spelled Forde. Okay? No, my name is not Shasha. It's not Shadia. It's Shatia. Shatia. I'm just saying. And I know that was a pet peeve. I had to put that one on there because that was a pet peeve of mine. Anywho, thank you guys for joining. That is all I have for you today. If this is something that has been beneficial for you, please share this with other people, because not everyone gets to see Tea Talks. If you are subscribed to my blog, you will get the replay in your email. I don't know what time I will have the replay up on Instagram. I'm going to try to do it right away, but I do have another meeting. But if this has been beneficial, please share, like, and also comment. If you would like to work with me, to help you move past some traumatic experiences, to level up in your workplace, because you know you have some limiting beliefs, you know that you have some fear that's been holding you back, please reach out to me. I'm going to put a link in both places to schedule your Audacity to Be Me discovery session. I would love the pleasure and the honor to work with you. I'm putting that in. And I also want to tell you before we go, I have a masterclass, a 90-minute masterclass that's coming up on June 24th. It's called Emotional Bag Lady, Let Go or Be Dragged. Hit the link in my bio to learn more about it. But we're going to tap in during that masterclass. We're going to tap into a few things that will, that actually align with what I just shared. So if you have not looked at that, I encourage you to do that. The investment for that event is only $30. And it's 90 minutes, 60 minutes of teaching and 30 minutes of live coaching and Q&A. All right. I promise you guys typically not to keep you longer than 30 minutes, but I lost track of time because I lost track of what time I got started because of the technical difficulties. But I want to go back through and make sure I do not have any missed questions. And let me put on my glasses so I can see. Y'all, my tea is so good, but it's gotten cold. I'm going to have to heat it up. Tam Cole says, yes, do it scared. Allison Roselle, hey, sis, how you doing? Oh, I love this. Tam Cole on Instagram says this, and I think this is very key. Rest doesn't have to just be one thing. You can explore your options. And rest does not mean that you are just sitting in the bed sleeping, although that is a wonderful form of rest. Rest means sometimes just simply taking a walk out in nature and shutting down so that you can tap into your intuition. Sometimes rest is just sitting on your deck or on your porch and just absorbing the sounds of the birds chirping. Rest is sometimes simply turning on Netflix, Lifetime, or whatever that is, and enjoying your favorite shows. Rest is sometimes coming into the kitchen and whipping up something so freaking delicious, make you want to slap. Well, we don't want to slap our mama, but anywho, some of us do want to slap our mamas, and if you do, you really need to talk to me. Schedule that just a discovery session so we can not have that thought, okay? And Mind Your Own Plant says, my mind is always overworking. And a lot of times the reason why our minds are overworking is because we are trying to figure out how to not be rejected, how not to be abandoned, how not to make a mistake, how to be perfect, how to be what someone else is telling us that we should be. Now, that's not all the time. I am an overthinker. I analyze everything, but that is because I sometimes don't trust. And I had to dig, where did I get my overthinking from? Because I didn't trust. So because I don't trust, I overanalyze, and I'm going to make sure that this is where it's coming from. But where did that lack of trust come from? That's where I dig within our healing sessions. Where did the lack of trust come from? Because it didn't just happen. No, none of us are born distrustful. All right. Tanny says she goes by Tanny instead of Tanisha. I think that's how you pronounce your name. And correct me because I'm trying to remember how you spell your name, because I always call you Tanny, which is the reason why many of us have nicknames. My daughter's nickname is Shell. Her middle name is LaShelle. And the reason why I didn't call her Tia, which is what I wanted to, was because people said they couldn't pronounce her name, my family. So now, if I had a child, I'd be like, you better learn how to say it, because what we're not doing. I am Green Dawn. Thank you so much. She says, wonderful live today. Tanny and Rhonda both say it's the locks for me. Yes. Well, guys, if you have any questions, Mind Your Own Plants. Listen to what she says. I'm sorry, he says. You know what? If I've got your pronoun incorrect, please let me know. Darling, you are the patio. Tables are just a decorative piece. That part. Love it. Sample House, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. I cannot believe Najri is on here. She always misses because she's in Sweden. Cumberbatch Maria, thank you for joining me. Oh, I am Green Dawn. She asked a question regarding my crystals. How do you clear crystals of negative energy? First, I want to say I am getting back into crystals. The way I clear my crystals of negative energy is I program them. I pray over my crystals. And I also, what we resist is what will persist. I minimize who and what I'm around so that my crystals do not get a lot of negative energy. We have to be very, very careful about who we're around. And a lot of times we don't know. But I use selenite to cleanse my crystals and also to charge them. But I also use the moon and the sun. The easiest ways to charge your crystals. But for me, clearing any negative energy, I definitely pray over them, and I bind anything that is not like God, anything that is not pure, anything that is not positive. I know other people use other ways to clear negative energy from their crystals, but for me, prayer is my go-to. And I do, when I program my crystals and set the intention for my crystals, my intent for my crystals always is for my crystals to share with me what it is that I do not know, what I need to know, where I need to make change in my life, period. So I don't necessarily set a separate intent for every crystal that I work with. And again, I'm really getting back into my crystals, and I'm actually being certified as a crystal practitioner. I do not call myself, I'm not a healer. God is the healer. You are your healers. I simply bring the tools. And I know some people are like, you're not. No, healing implies that I've done something that I had the power to do it. I receive the power from the Most High. I receive everything from the Most High. So for me to say that I am the healer, no, I'm the conduit for the healer to do the work that he does. Period. That's how I see it. Am I negating my role? Not at all. I am simply giving my Most High his praise, honor, and glory. All right. Oh, I love blue kyanite. I love blue kyanite. I love celestite. I love my angelite. I love all of the ites because they directly connect you to spiritual, to source, to our God, to the Holy Spirit. All right, ladies and gents, I got to get out of here because I got to get going. Plus, I need to make sure I upload this. But thank you all for sticking it out with me and showing up even though I was late. If I'm ever late, it's because there's a technical issue, and I'm working on my technology. I love you guys. Have an awesome day. And don't forget to check out Groovy Herbal Teas. Don't forget to hit the link in the bio to register today for the Emotional Bag Lady Masterclass. And if you would like to work with me or know someone that needs to work with me, you can also hit the link on Instagram in my bio and schedule a discovery session. On Facebook, you can hit the link in my cover and schedule a discovery session, or you can also hit the link that are in the comments. I love you guys. Have a great one. Until the next time we talk, continue to plant those seeds that are going to propel you forward so that you can grow, thrive, and flourish and become that woman of God that God has already predestined you to be. He's just waiting on you to show up, sis. Love you guys.